Michael found the bank transfer record by accident, left open on Lex's laptop when she went to answer the door for a food delivery. The screen showed her banking app with a completed transaction. 15,000 bahts sent to someone named Somchai, with a note in Thai he had to screenshot and translate, for the kids' school trip and your motorbike repair. Somchai was Lex's ex-husband. The ex-husband she claimed had abandoned her and their children 3 years ago, who she said she never spoke to anymore, who had left her with debts she was still paying off, who Michael had been helping her recover from financially for the past 8 months. Michael scrolled through her transaction history, hands shaking, seeing a pattern that rewrote their entire relationship. Regular transfers to Somchai, 10,000 baht here, 20,000 there, sometimes 5,000, never stopping, going back months before Michael had even met her. Mixed among these were transfers to her parents, her sister, her daughter's private school, her son's tutoring program, all needs. Michael thought he was funding all expenses he believed he was covering to help Lek rebuild her life after her failed marriage. But she was funding 2 lives, the one she was building with Michael and the one she was still maintaining with Somchai. The debts Michael had paid off hadn't been paid off. They'd been current obligations. She shifted to Michael while continuing to support her ex-husband with the savings Michael's support had created. The children's expenses Michael covered freed up her salary to send to Somchai, who apparently needed money for motorbike repairs, and his own living costs despite supposedly being the one who had abandoned the family. Outside, Chiang Mai's evening settled over the condo. Michael rented for them the condo he paid for completely, the condo where Lek had moved in 6 months ago, the condo that was supposed to represent their fresh start together. 2 mature adults building genuine partnership after painful divorces, 2 people who understood life's complications and were committed to creating something stable and real. But stability and reality were apparently different things. The mature, respectable Thai woman he had chosen specifically to avoid the traps he'd heard about the bar girls, the young opportunists, the obvious scammers had been running a more subtle operation, one where her age and life experience made the extraction more believable, where her genuine responsibilities created cover for systematic financial support of a life that still included the man who had supposedly ruined her. This is the story of how Michael learned that the older Thai woman trap was more dangerous precisely because it looked nothing like a trap. If you've been enjoying the stories I create, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Your support is crucial for the growth of this channel and helps me dedicate time to making these videos despite my commitment to a full-time job. Thank you for being here. Michael Turner arrived in Thailand after his 3rd divorce with clarity about what he didn't want. He didn't want bar girls or young women seeking sponsors. He didn't want the nightlife scene in Pattaya or Bangkok. He didn't want anyone under 35 who would be with him primarily because of age gap economics rather than genuine compatibility. At 59, after 3 failed marriages and a successful real estate career in Austin that had left him financially comfortable but emotionally exhausted, Michael wanted authentic partnership with someone, his approximate age, who understood life's complications, who had been through marriage and perhaps divorce, who could be companion rather than dependent, who wanted relationship rather than rescue. Thailand appeared in his research as options specifically because he had read about Thai women in their 30s and 40s divorced, established in careers, mothers with grown or nearly grown children, women who wanted stability and companionship rather than adventure and material support. These women supposedly avoided the bar scene and dating apps designed for younger women seeking foreign sponsors, instead meeting foreign men through legitimate channels like expat social groups and professional networks. Michael joined several Chiang Mai expat groups online before his trip, participated in discussions, asked questions about living in northern Thailand, made clear he was looking for serious relationship with age-appropriate women rather than stereotypical younger Thai girlfriend. Several expats recommended that approaching Thai women through professional contexts or mutual friends was more likely to result in genuine connections than the meat market atmosphere of tourist areas. He arrived in Chiang Mai with 6-month tourist visa. intention to stay longer if things went well, and rental of a small house in a quiet neighborhood away from the tourist districts. He had approximately $200,000 in liquid savings after his divorce settlement, plus monthly income from rental properties in Austin that provided comfortable living whether he stayed in America or relocated to Thailand. His first month, Michael attended expat meetups, joined a Thai language class for foreigners, volunteered at a local animal shelter, intentionally pursuing activities that would connect him with serious, stable people rather than the party scene he wanted to avoid. He met several divorced Thai women in their 30s and 40s. Through these activities, women who worked professional jobs, supported families, lived normal, non-party lives that looked identical to the lives of American women his age. Michael met Sawala called Lek, a common Thai nickname at an expat potluck dinner organized by a local community group. She was 41, worked as an administrator at a private hospital, dressed professionally in a way that immediately distinguished her from the younger women in tight clothes at bars Michael had seen while walking through tourist areas. Lek's English was good but not perfect, formal in ways that suggested she had learned it through school rather than through working with foreign customers. She asked thoughtful questions about Michael's adjustment to Thailand, offered practical advice about living in Chiang Mai, didn't flirt or perform any of the exaggerated friendliness he had observed in younger Thai women seeking foreign attention. They talked for over an hour at the potluck. Lek told him she was divorced with 2 children, a 16-year-old daughter and 14-year-old son. Her ex-husband had been unfaithful. They had separated 3 years ago. She was raising the children alone while working full-time. She asked about Michael's situation, listened carefully to his explanation of 3 failed marriages, his sense of wanting to find genuine partnership rather than repeating patterns that hadn't worked. What struck Michael most was Lek's maturity. She didn't present herself as victim, didn't complain excessively about her ex-husband, spoke about her children with obvious love, but also realistic acknowledgement of parenting challenges, discussed her work with professional pride. She seemed stable, grounded, exactly the kind of person Michael had hoped to meet. They exchanged phone numbers, agreed to meet for coffee the following week. Over the next month, the relationship developed slowly through deliberate dates, coffee meetings, lunch at quiet restaurants, visits to temples and museums, walks through Chiang Mai's old city. Lek insisted on paying for herself initially, saying she valued independence, that she didn't want Michael to think she was seeking financial support. This independence was precisely what Michael found attractive. Lek seemed to want relationship built on mutual respect and compatibility rather than economic transaction. Her refusal to let him pay for everything, her insistence on maintaining her own apartment and continuing to work, her careful boundaries around their developing relationship, all of it suggested she was serious about finding genuine partnership. 6 weeks into dating, Lek introduced Michael to her children. The meeting was formal. A lunch at her apartment where her daughter and son were polite but reserved, clearly sizing up this foreign man their mother was seeing. Lek's apartment was modest, a 2-bedroom place in a middle-class neighborhood, furnished simply but comfortably, showing none of the desperate poverty Michael had been warned about when researching Thai relationships. Meeting her children felt significant. Lek wasn't keeping him separate from her real life, wasn't hiding their relationship, was treating him like serious partner rather than casual foreign boyfriend. Her children's English was limited, but they made effort to communicate, and Michael felt like he was being integrated into an actual family rather than pursued for his money. 3 months into their relationship, Lek began sharing more about her financial situation. The divorce had been difficult. She explained her ex-husband had accumulated debts during their marriage, debts that legally she was partially responsible for because they had occurred while married. She was slowly paying these off while also supporting her children and helping her elderly parents in a village outside Chiang Mai. The story emerged gradually, never as direct requests for money but as honest sharing of life complications. Lek still owed 150,000 baht, about $4,500 on loans her ex-husband had taken. She was paying 3,000 baht monthly to the bank while earning 40,000 baht monthly at her job, leaving barely enough for rent, children's expenses, and basic living costs. Michael could see the strain this created. Lek worked long hours at the hospital, often looked tired, sometimes canceled dates because she needed to work overtime to earn extra money. She never complained to him directly, never suggested he should help. But the reality of her situation was obvious and created natural protective instinct in Michael. After 4 months of dating, Michael offered to help pay off the remaining debt. $4,500 was manageable for him, would eliminate the monthly loan payments and give Lek breathing room financially, would demonstrate his commitment to their relationship and his willingness to be partner who helped solve problems rather than just enjoying her company. Lek resisted appropriately, said it was too much, that she couldn't accept such generosity, that she barely knew him still, despite 4 months together. But Michael insisted, explained that he wanted to help, that this would benefit both of them by reducing her stress and allowing them to spend more time together instead of her always working overtime. Eventually, Lek agreed, crying genuine tears of gratitude, saying no one had ever been so kind to her, that Thailand would never help like this, that Michael was proving himself to be different from her ex-husband who had only created financial problems rather than solving them. Michael paid off the debt directly to the bank, receiving confirmation that the loan was settled. Lek showed him the bank documents, let him verify everything was legitimate, thanked him profusely, and said this was a turning point in her life, that she could finally start saving money instead of just surviving. The debt payment seemed to deepen their relationship. Lek was more affectionate afterward, talked more seriously about their future together, suggested maybe Michael could meet her parents, discussed the possibility of them moving in together once their relationship felt solid enough. But what Michael didn't know was that the debt he had paid off was real but not complete. Lek had other debts she hadn't mentioned, obligations to her parents and siblings she was still funding, and ongoing financial support to her ex-husband that she had carefully avoided revealing. The debt Michael paid off freed up her monthly loan payment amount. But instead of creating savings, that money simply shifted to other obligations she hadn't disclosed. In Thai culture, particularly among divorced women with children, financial obligations extend far beyond what foreigners typically understand. We support not just our children, but our parents, our siblings' children, sometimes our ex-husbands if they struggle to support their share of child expenses. These obligations aren't optional, they're fundamental to maintaining family relationships and avoiding shame within our communities. When a foreign man enters a relationship with a Thai woman, he often doesn't realize he's entering a relationship with her entire family network and all their accumulated financial needs. We don't disclose this completely at the beginning because foreigners would be overwhelmed and would likely withdraw. Instead, we reveal needs gradually, presenting them as temporary emergencies rather than permanent obligations, allowing the foreign man to become emotionally invested before understanding the full scope of financial expectations. 6 months into their relationship, Michael and Lek decided to move in together. Lek's apartment was too small for them and her children, and Michael's rental house felt empty with just him living there. They found a 3-bedroom condo in a nice area of Chiang Mai, 25,000 baht per month rent, about $750, with space for Lek's children to have their own rooms. Michael paid the deposit and first 3 months' rent, 100,000 baht total, and furnished the condo with new furniture, kitchen equipment, and electronics. Lek moved in with her children, and Michael felt like he had finally created the stable family life he had been seeking through 3 failed marriages in America. Living together revealed daily life patterns that reassured Michael he had made the right choice. Lek cooked traditional Thai meals, managed the household competently, maintained her job at the hospital, while also taking care of domestic responsibilities. Her children adjusted to living with a foreign man. Their English improved through daily interaction. They called him Uncle Mike with increasing comfort. But living together also meant Michael became more aware of Lek's financial obligations. Her parents needed medicine 5,000 baht monthly. Her daughter's private school fees were due 30,000 baht per semester. Her son needed tutoring to prepare for high school entrance exams, 8,000 baht monthly. Her sister in Bangkok had a financial emergency, 15,000 baht needed immediately. Each need was legitimate, each amount was manageable for Michael, and each request came with Lek's reluctance and gratitude that made Michael feel like he was helping solve real problems rather than being exploited. He had moved Lek and her children into his condo, had taken on responsibility for their daily living expenses, so covering these additional costs felt like natural extension of being family provider. Over 3 months of living together, Michael spent approximately 60,000 baht, about $1,800, on various family expenses, beyond the rent and household costs he was already covering. The spending seemed reasonable for supporting a family of 4, much less than he had spent supporting just himself and his ex-wives in Austin, and the family life he was receiving in return felt worth the cost. Lek contributed what she could from her salary, bought groceries sometimes, paid for her children's clothes and school supplies, maintained her financial dignity by not being completely dependent, but Michael knew his support was fundamental to their lifestyle, that without his money they couldn't afford the condo or the private school or the medical care for her parents. The arrangement felt like genuine partnership. Michael provided financial stability, Lek provided domestic labor and emotional companionship, her children provided family atmosphere Michael had missed. Everyone contributed what they could and benefited from what others contributed. 8 months into living together, Lek mentioned her ex-husband Somchai was having problems. He had lost his job, was struggling to make child support payments, might need to move back to his village, which would make it difficult for him to see the children. Lek was worried about the children's relationship with their father, didn't want them to lose contact with him despite the divorce. Michael felt sympathetic. Despite Somchai's infidelity that had ended the marriage, Lek spoke about him without bitterness, focused on his role as the children's father, wanted to maintain stability for the kids. This maturity impressed Michael. Lek wasn't trying to punish her ex-husband, wasn't using the children as weapons, was prioritizing their needs above her hurt feelings. Lek asked Michael's opinion about helping Somchai with temporary financial support, maybe 10,000 baht monthly until he found new employment so he could stay in Chiang Mai and maintain regular contact with the children. She wasn't asking Michael to pay this, she explained, just asking his advice about whether it would be appropriate for her to help her ex-husband, whether it would upset Michael if she diverted some of her salary to support Somchai temporarily. Michael's response was generous. He told Lek not to use her salary. She barely had enough for her own expenses. If temporary support for Somchai would help the children maintain relationship with their father, Michael would provide it, would give Lek money to pass along to Somchai. This wasn't about the ex-husband, Michael said. This was about the children's well-being, about maintaining family stability. Lek cried, said Michael was the kindest man she had ever met, that her children were lucky to have him in their lives, that she had never imagined finding someone so understanding after her difficult divorce. Michael started sending 10,000 baht monthly for Somchai's support. Lek would transfer the money, show Michael screenshots of the transactions, thank him each time for his generosity toward her ex-husband, despite having no obligation to help him. What Michael didn't see was that Lek was sending Somchai much more than 10,000 baht monthly. She was giving him money from her own salary money she could spare because Michael was covering all her living expenses. She was also sending money Michael gave her for other purposes, telling Michael one thing while using the money for Somchai's additional needs. The family emergency money Michael provided for Lek's sister had partially gone to Somchai's motorbike repair. The medicine money for her parents sometimes went to Somchai's rent when he fell behind. The tutoring money for her son occasionally covered expenses Somchai should have been paying but couldn't. Lek had never fully separated from Somchai financially. The divorce had been legal formality, but the financial entanglement remained. She still felt responsible for him, still loved him in some way, or at least still felt obligated to ensure he didn't suffer too much despite his infidelity. Her relationship with Michael had become funding mechanism for maintaining both her own life and Somchai's life, using Michael's money to support 2 households while telling Michael he was only supporting one. As their relationship approached 1 year, Michael noticed the emergencies were becoming more frequent and expensive. Lek's father needed surgery, 80,000 baht. Her sister's husband lost his job, they needed 20,000 to cover rent. Her daughter wanted to attend a special academic camp, 35,000 for the program fees. Her son needed dental work, 40,000 for braces. Each request came with documentation, medical bills, school program brochures, receipts, and invoices. Everything seemed legitimate. Every need appeared real, and Lek's reluctance to ask combined with her gratitude when Michael helped suggested these weren't manufactured crises, but genuine family situations requiring financial support. Michael paid for everything without hesitation. He had the money, cared deeply about Lek and her family, wanted to be the kind of partner who solved problems rather than creating them. His American ex-wives had complained he was too focused on work and not attentive enough to family needs. Now he was demonstrating he could be fully present and financially generous, could put family first. Over 3 months, Michael spent approximately 100,000 baht, about $3,000 on various family emergencies beyond the regular monthly support he was already providing. Combined with rent, household expenses, and the monthly amount for somchai, Michael's monthly costs in Thailand were running about 60,000 baht, $1,800, substantially more than he had budgeted but still manageable on his rental income and savings. But Michael was beginning to feel uneasy about the pattern. The emergencies never seemed to end. As soon as one crisis was resolved, another emerged. Lek's family appeared to lurch from problem to problem, always requiring immediate financial intervention, never achieving the stability Michael's support was supposedly creating. When Michael gently raised this concern, Lek became emotional. She apologized for being burdened, said her family's problems made her ashamed, offered to move out if Michael felt she was taking advantage of him. The display of vulnerability and offer to leave despite having nowhere to go that would maintain her children's school continuity made Michael feel guilty for questioning her, made him reassure her that he was committed to their relationship, that he just wanted to understand the situation better. Lek explained that Thai families face different challenges than American families: lower incomes, no social safety net, cultural obligations to help extended family regardless of personal cost. She was caught between her responsibilities to her parents, her siblings, her children, and her relationship with Michael. She was trying to balance everything, but Thai life was difficult. Family needs were constant, and she had no one else to help her except Michael. The explanation made sense and made Michael feel selfish for questioning. He had money that created mild inconvenience when spent, while Lek's family faced genuine hardship. His complaints about the frequency of requests seemed petty compared to the real struggles they were managing. The discovery of Lek's ongoing financial support to Somchai happened 11 months into their relationship purely by accident, when Lek left her laptop open with her banking app visible. Michael hadn't been snooping. He had simply walked past the laptop on his way to answer the door and had seen the screen showing a completed transfer to Somchai. Initially, he assumed this was the monthly support amount he had been providing, but the note said, "for motorbike repair," and the date was wrong. This was an additional transfer beyond the regular monthly amount. Michael's hand moved before his mind could process what he was doing. He touched the laptop to keep it from sleeping, scrolled through Lek's transaction history, saw the devastating pattern. Lek was sending Somchai money constantly, small amounts of 3,000 to 5,000 baht, larger amounts of 10,000 to 20,000. Regular monthly transfers that combined with the amount Michael was providing totaled much more than just temporary support for an unemployed ex-husband. The transfers went back months before Michael had started helping, continued even as Somchai supposedly found new employment, showed no signs of decreasing or stopping. Michael scrolled further back and saw other transfers that revealed additional truths. The money he had given Lek for her father's surgery, half of it had been redirected to Somchai for a different purpose. The money for her sister's emergency partially sent to Somchai. Even some of the money he had paid directly for household expenses, Lek was reducing other spending to free up money to send to Somchai. She was managing a complex financial operation where Michael's money flowed through her to multiple destinations. some of which matched what she told him, many of which didn't. The mature, independent Thai woman who insisted on maintaining her dignity by contributing financially was actually using every baht she earned, plus significant portions of what Michael provided to support her ex-husband, alongside supporting her parents and her children. When Lek returned from receiving the food delivery, she saw Michael sitting at her laptop, saw her banking app still open, understood immediately what had happened. Her face went carefully neutral, waiting for his reaction, preparing her explanation. "You're still giving him money?" Michael said. "A lot more than what I've been providing for him. You're using my money to support Somchai while telling me he just needs temporary help." Lex sat down slowly. "It's complicated." "Then explain it. Make me understand how this is complicated rather than just lying." Lek took a breath, organizing her thoughts, or perhaps organizing her story. "Somchai is the father of my children. When we divorced, I got custody, but he still has rights. The children need their father. He can't provide for them properly if he has nothing, if he is suffering, if he loses face completely. I help him, not for me, not for him, but for my children." "But you told me he abandoned you, that he was the one who destroyed the marriage through his infidelity, that he wasn't supporting the children properly." "All of this is true, but true and complete are different. He did abandon me. He was unfaithful. He doesn't support children properly from his income. But he is still their father, still my children's family. In Thailand, we don't cut family like you do in America. Even bad father is still father. I must help him to help my children. By using my money? By telling me one thing and doing another? I never lied about what I spent. Father's surgery was real. He needed 80,000. I used 60,000 for surgery and 20,000 to help Somchai, who couldn't pay his rent and would have been homeless. Both needs were real. I simply didn't tell you everything." "That's still lying, Lek. Lying by omission is still lying. In your culture, maybe. In Thai culture, we don't tell everything, especially things that would hurt relationship. I knew if I said, 'I support Somchai with your money,' you would be angry, would stop helping, would not understand. So I protected our relationship by managing the truth carefully." The rationalization was sophisticated, culturally grounded, and completely unacceptable to Michael. She had systemically deceived him while maintaining performance of honesty and transparency, had used his money for purposes he hadn't agreed to while showing him receipts for purposes he had agreed to, had constructed elaborate justification for betrayal based on cultural differences. Michael gave Lek an ultimatum: stop sending money to Somchai beyond the agreed temporary support amount, be completely transparent about all financial transactions, or their relationship was over. He couldn't continue providing financial support if he didn't trust where the money was actually going. Couldn't live with someone who managed truth carefully rather than telling truth completely. Lek's response was to cry, apologize, promise to be more transparent, but also to explain that cutting off Somchai completely wasn't realistic. Her children would suffer if their father became desperate. Her ex-husband's family would blame her for his problems. Her community would judge her for not helping the father of her children regardless of their divorce. The crying might have been genuine. Lek was genuinely trapped between competing obligations, genuinely trying to balance responsibilities that were culturally mandatory for her but completely foreign to Michael's understanding. But the effect was manipulation, regardless of whether the emotion was authentic. Her tears made Michael feel guilty for setting boundaries, made him feel like he was being unreasonable and culturally insensitive. Michael held firm. He said he understood Thai culture was different, understood family obligations were more extensive than American family obligations, but that understanding didn't mean accepting deception. If Lek wanted to support Somchai with her own money, that was her choice. But she couldn't use Michael's money for purposes he hadn't agreed to while telling him the money was for other things. Lek agreed to his terms, promised complete transparency going forward, showed him her banking app, and gave him access to see all her transactions. This transparency lasted 2 weeks. Then Lek closed the banking app access, said it made her uncomfortable that Michael was monitoring her finances like she was child rather than adult partner. Michael found himself in an impossible position. Either he monitored Lex's finances invasively, destroying trust and treating her like employee rather than partner, or he trusted her word knowing she had already demonstrated willingness to deceive him when convenient, knowing that cultural justifications would always exist for managing truth rather than telling truth completely. The relationship became increasingly strained. Lek was less affectionate, complained that Michael didn't understand Thai culture, didn't respect her complicated situation, expected her to be like American women who could cut family ties easily. Michael felt betrayed and manipulated, questioned every expense and request, couldn't shake suspicion that everything Lek told him was carefully managed rather than completely honest. 3 months after the discovery, Lek moved out. She said the relationship wasn't working, that Michael couldn't accept Thai cultural realities, that she needed a partner who understood family obligations were non-negotiable regardless of personal desires. She took her children back to her small apartment, resumed her financially strained existence, maintained her dignity by presenting the breakup as her choice rather than consequence of her deception. Michael remained in Thailand for 6 more months after Lek left, processing what had happened, trying to understand where his strategy had failed. He had specifically avoided the traps everyone warned about: the young bar girls, the student gold diggers, the obvious scammers. He had chosen a mature, employed, respectable Thai woman who seemed to want partnership rather than rescue, who had her own life rather than being desperate for foreign sponsor. But the mature woman trap had been more sophisticated precisely because it was less obvious. Lek's age and employment made her seem independent when she was actually managing complex web of dependencies. Her children made her seem responsible and family-oriented when they were actually leverage for ongoing financial extraction. Her ex-husband's presence made her seem mature enough to maintain civil post-divorce relationship when he was actually ongoing financial obligations she had systematically concealed. The debts Michael had paid off, the emergencies he had funded, the family support he had provided, all of it had been real in the sense that money had gone to actual needs. But the needs had been endless because Lek's obligations were endless. Because Thai family culture meant she would always be supporting parents and siblings and ex-husband alongside her children. Because financial independence for a divorced Thai woman with family obligations was impossible regardless of foreign support. Michael calculated he had spent approximately $35,000 on Lek and her family over 11 months, not as much as he had spent on any of his American wives during comparable periods, but more than he had budgeted for Thailand, and with nothing to show for it except education about how the mature Thai woman trap operated through cultural complexity rather than obvious exploitation. He met other foreign men in Chiang Mai who had similar experiences, relationships with older, respectable Thai women who had turned into ongoing financial rescue missions, women who weren't scammers in the traditional sense, but who had cultural obligations that meant they would always need money, always have emergencies, always present new problems, requiring financial solutions. Some of these relationships survived because the foreign men accepted the financial obligations as cost of having Thai partner, budgeted accordingly, made peace with funding extended family networks. Others collapsed, like Michael's had collapsed. The foreign men eventually recognizing they were funding multiple households while believing they were funding one, discovering that transparency wasn't culturally valued the same way it was valued in Western relationships. Michael returned to Austin after 18 months in Thailand, sold the rental properties that had been funding his Thai life, rebuilt his American existence. With clearer understanding, the geographic relocation didn't solve problems rooted in his own patterns of choosing partners who needed rescue more than they needed relationship, who saw him as solution to financial problems rather than as person worthy of genuine partnership. Back in Chiang Mai, Lek continued her life working at the hospital, raising her children, supporting her parents, sending money to Somchai, managing her financial obligations through her salary and through occasional relationships with foreign men who she would present herself to as mature, independent, respectable women looking for genuine partnership, who she would allow to help with emergencies until they either accepted the endless nature of Thai family obligations or recognized they were being systematically but invisibly drained. The mature Thai woman trap wasn't different in outcome from younger woman traps. Both resulted in foreign men spending more than intended on family support they hadn't agreed to provide. But the mature trap was more insidious because it came wrapped in respectability. Developed through genuine compatibility and life experience sharing, involved women who were actually independent and employed rather than obviously dependent, created situations where the foreign men felt like bad people for setting boundaries, rather than like smart people for recognizing exploitation. For men like Michael, who came to Thailand seeking age-appropriate partners, who wanted to avoid the stereotype of old foreign men with young Thai girlfriends, who believed mature Thai women would be fundamentally different from the scammers and gold diggers. Everyone warned about the education was expensive and painful. Mature Thai women had all the same financial pressures as younger Thai women, had additional obligations from ex-husbands and aging parents, had learned to present these obligations more sympathetically as cultural realities rather than personal failures, had mastered the art of making foreign men feel culturally insensitive for questioning financial arrangements that were systematically extractive regardless of cultural justification. The trap worked because it appealed to foreign men's desire to be good people, to be culturally sensitive, to be generous partners, rather than transactional sponsors. Michael had wanted to help Lek, had wanted to be better than her ex-husband, had wanted to demonstrate that Western men could be partners rather than problems. His generosity and good intentions had been systematically exploited, not through obvious scam, but through complex cultural obligations that were presented as temporary emergencies, but that were actually permanent conditions of Thai family life. 3 years after returning from Thailand, Michael lived alone in Austin, dated American women occasionally but without serious commitment, maintained friendships but avoided relationships, where financial rescue seemed to be foundational expectation, accepted that his pattern of choosing partners who needed saving more than they needed equality was pattern he might never break, regardless of which country he searched for partners in. He sometimes thought about Lek, wondered if she had found another foreign man to help with her endless obligations, if she ever felt guilty about the deception, or if she genuinely believed cultural justifications made her behavior acceptable, if she understood the difference between what Michael had agreed to provide and what she had actually taken. He suspected she didn't see it as deception at all, that from her perspective, she had been honest about her situation within the bounds of what Thai culture required, had provided genuine partnership and domestic labor in exchange for financial support, had tried to balance competing obligations in impossible situation where someone would always be disappointed. The fact that Michael couldn't understand Thai family obligations wasn't her failure, but his cultural limitation. The mature Thai woman trap continued catching foreign men who believed age and respectability created safety from exploitation, who thought choosing employed Thai women rather than bar girls meant choosing different outcome, who couldn't recognize that financial pressure was financial pressure regardless of how sympathetically it was presented or how culturally it was justified. If this story revealed how the mature Thai woman trap works differently from younger woman traps, more subtle, more respectable, built on genuine compatibility before financial extraction, justified through cultural obligations rather than obvious need, I invite you to subscribe. There are more stories about men who thought they were too smart for typical traps, about the sophisticated variations that catch careful men, about how maturity and employment don't prevent systematic financial drainage when cultural obligations are endless and transparency is culturally flexible. Thank you for listening to this uncomfortable truth about the trap that doesn't look like a trap.